warm welcome to Talk Time. My guest today is Mr. Tushar Gandhi, great-grandson of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Author, social activist, he runs the Mahatma Gandhi Foundation and openly admits that he is a failed politician. Mr. Tushar Gandhi, welcome to Talk Time.
Thank you very much.
Gandhi, 21st century, in today's contemporary socio-political situation, how do you, associate with the surname Gandhi in today's context?
It's a matter of pride for me. I have always been very comfortable with my inherited legacy because I have been told that I've only inherited a legacy. It doesn't make me anything special. So I know that it comes with expectations and responsibilities, but I don't pretend to be somebody I'm not. And so that helps me to be comfortable with my legacy and obey its requirements that are
You have said somewhere that, please look at me as the Mahatma's great-grandson, not as Mahatma, and his ideals.
Because, see, that Mahatma-ship is not inherited. It has to be earned. If it was inherited or if it was in our genes, then there would have been 100 plus.
It's nothing to do with DNA. It's not a DNA-related stuff.
Nothing to do with DNA at all. No DNA attributes at all. So, coming to terms with that helps. Coming to terms with the knowledge that, it was just that your ancestor was great, and that's it. So that helps a lot.
Now, Gandhi, it is associated with a particular political party, right from the days of your great-grandfather to today.
Right.
So that is the reality. So have you ever had any kind of discomfort? Because your first political party was not the Congress.
No.
Your first political party was Samajwadi Party.
Yes.
That was in the 90s.
Right.
Now, why not the Congress? People will ask you, people will assume that the natural party of choice for Tushar Gandhi to make his debut in politics in the 90s should have been Congress. Why was it Samajwadi Party? And that too, when the Gandhi surname was already associated with the Congress even then.
Well, you must understand that there are two different Gandhis. The Gandhi families are not related.
True, I'm just talking about only the surname and the problems related to that surname.
I don't see any problems in that. I think that whole issue has also been politicized too much of the Asli Gandhi and Nakli Gandhi. I don't agree with that. That belief at all.
Yeah.
Everybody has a right to their surnames, and there's nothing special, or there's no private ownership of that surname. As far as my political debut was concerned, I was a joint candidate of Samajwadi Party and the Congress. That time, the constituency that I had selected to stand for election was given to the Samajwadi Party in an alliance with the Congress, and so I was a joint candidate, and maybe that was the mischievous guy in me who wanted to go not do the expected thing of me.
Was it a mistake looking back? Because as you have yourself said, you did not quite succeed in politics, and especially you gave up. Not that you kept on trying.
Right.
You gave up. So why so?
The political aspiration was a mistake. I was desperate. I thought that I would only amount to something if I had a political title attached to me. And that was a mistake of judgment on my part. And so, having realized that, I made amends as soon as possible.
Now, there are about 150 to 200, correct me if I'm wrong, direct descendants of Mahatma Gandhi today. There may be more, but around estimated.
About just a little less than 150.
Just a little less than 150.
Yeah.
I was not quite off the mark.
No.
Not many people have actually, rose in politics in the direct family. Your uncle Rajmohan Gandhi tried, and your aunt, I think, was a Rajya Sabha member, and I mean, everybody went their own way. Your dad
Right.
was a well-known journalist, so on and so forth. So why so? I mean, you know.
I think it was personal choices. Not many of us were publicly inclined to be in the public limelight. Many of the people who you have talked about were in some ways, because of the circumstances of the time that they took on political options, chose the
Right.
political option. Some of us, we did have political ambitions. The ambitions were not sustainable.
Right. Now,
I must be very frank about it because there was a dishonest aspect in our political aspirations also that at least I can speak for myself that I thought as the great-grandson of the Mahatma, it would be easy for me to have
Smooth
a political
sailing.
yes, smooth sailing.
but that was not the case.
That was not the case. I discovered it, and I think I am very grateful that I understood that early on. That that's not going to be something of a privilege in politics.
See, I mean, you run the Mahatma Gandhi Foundation. You have been, I mean, you are embroiled in controversies. You came out of it successfully. I mean, we'll talk about that. My question to you, Mr. Tushar Gandhi, you may not be in active politics now, but you are obviously a keen watcher of what
Yes.
is going on around you. And you have said that see, only in 2014 we had a major change in government. Even
Right.
before that, it was Congress for a large amount of time.
Yes.
Now, even then, the Mahatma's ideals, his philosophy, etc., they're only lip service, if I may use the word, given.
Sure.
Why do you think, Gandhi or Gandhian ideals is reduced to, I'm not generalizing, but mostly it is just an occasion where you have to, demonstrate to the people that yes, we are keeping alive the legacy of the father of the nation and we are not really practicing what he preached. Of course, we cannot practice each and everything that a great man had preached, but yet still.
No, I think that is the easiest way to sort of appropriate him. The ritualistic show of allegiance is the easiest form of escapism in the Gandhian ideology kind of thing. In today's electoral politics, nobody can honestly practice the purity of methods that Bapu was so keen upon. That the fact that the means were more important than the ends. Electoral politics doesn't allow that. In electoral politics, the only thing that is important is the achievement, the fruit kind of thing. And so to expect that electoral politics will be honest is, I think, a bit of too much to ask. Electoral politics in its conception itself is dishonest because they do not, we don't vote on performance, we vote on expectations. This country has always seen that the elections have always won on expectations
and
rather
promises.
than performance.
Expectations and promises.
And the more fulfilled promises, the better success. This has been the tragedy of our electoral politics.
If there would not have been no unfulfilled promises, there would have been no anti-incumbency for the other party to harp on during the time of the elections.
Absolutely. And that's where you see that in the time of elections, it's always a negative campaign. It's never a positive one of what we have achieved. People at the end of 5 years start blaming the previous 10 years for their inability to work in the 5 years that they were given. And so it's always been that dishonest approach. And the voters also have been very dishonest in their voting because, what has he done for my community? What has he done for my caste? What have they done for my locality?
What is your guess? What would Bapu have said? If you would have seen today's politics, as you said, the politics of just garnering votes, whatever way you want, it's just to win the election somehow and arouse expectations among the people and promise. And don't implement anything, half of the things you promise. What would Bapu have reacted? How would he have reacted, possibly?
I'm asked this question, and everybody sort of assumes that Bapu would have gotten up today when we've reached a point beyond crisis and done something about it. I believe that Bapu was somebody who treated the symptoms as soon as they arose, rather than to wait for it to turn into a malady or a critical ailment. And so he would have been continuously at work amongst the people. I think he wouldn't have bothered with the political class much. He would have been working with the common people, educating them and making them more responsible.
Absolutely. Moral of the story is that treatment can be meted out only by the people, not the political class.
No,
Absolutely. On that note, we go for a short break. Stay on. When I come back, I shall continue my conversation with Mr. Tushar Gandhi, great-grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. Welcome back. I am in conversation with Mr. Tushar Gandhi, author who runs the Mahatma Gandhi Foundation, a social activist, and of course the great-grandson of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Mr. Tushar Gandhi, this is the 150th birth anniversary year of Mahatma Gandhi. The nation has been celebrating this. There has been attention, focus on Gandhi and Gandhian values around the world. In the Indian diaspora too is excited, apart from others, of course, around the world. Now, you have also come up with a very interesting project recreating that Dandi March in Dandi. It's a huge project with life-size statues of not just the Mahatma, but all his 70 to 80 followers. 80 followers who had participated in that Dandi March. Can you tell me something about that?
You see, the memorial at Dandi is not for Bapu. Everybody knows Bapu, and there are enough memorials for him all over the world. The fact was that the route of the Dandi March and the 80 who were handpicked by Bapu from the Sabarmati Ashram community were forgotten. Nobody knew about them, nobody knew their identities, nobody knew the exact route that the Dandi Cooch had walked on. And so in 2005, on its 75th anniversary, when I did the Dandi Cooch all over again.
You created the Dandi March, 2005.
Yes.
Right.
And the effort was to identify whatever was left of the route. Urbanization and expanding cities had obliterated quite a lot of the path, but we retraced all that and made it as accurate as possible. And then we were fortunate that the Prime Minister of that time, Shri Manmohan Singh Ji, declared the route as a historical heritage route. So now it is going to be preserved. For generations to come, it's going to be preserved as the NH64. And so one objective was fulfilled. The other objective was that the 80 marchers who marched with Bapu from Sabarmati to Dandi, of course, during the intervening days, their numbers rose to the thousands, but the 80 marched constantly with Bapu, and their identity was also forgotten. And so the idea was to enshrine their identities forever. And so whenever I was asked about the memorial at Dandi, I said it is a memorial to a cause, and it's a memorial to the 80 unknown marchers
who accompanied Bapu in that famous Dandi March.
So they will be named over there. Their names will be put up. Each and every one of them will be there. So the visitor will get that.
When is this going to be actually ready? I mean, is it?
It's all inching towards the finish. It has taken us time because it's a very challenging and unique monument. But I'm very certain that it will be inaugurated and dedicated to the nation by the end of January 2019.
Now you see, I mean, you must be having this peculiar thing because you are the great-grandson of the Mahatma. People must be thinking that, okay, ask anything about Mahatma Gandhi and Tushar Gandhi will be able to answer those questions.
Absolutely.
You know, what are some of the predicaments that you have faced over the years?
Well, initially I was very casual about my inheritance, and I didn't bother much about having to please the people. Then I realized that my being casual and flippant about this whole issue was disappointing a lot of people, and genuinely disappointing them. They had the right to expect things from me, so it forced me to study. I had taken Bapu for granted. I said, he's my great-grandfather, who can know better than me. But I realized that that was not the case. There were so many things that I needed to understand myself of his personality. And I have always confined myself to knowing about the human being. I haven't bothered much about the
his
public
philosophy
persona. Philosophy, yes, because the human being can't be divided from that. But the history part of it, there are historians who know better than me. But I have always concentrated on understanding his persona and his personality. And it has helped me also, because there are so many facets of his personality and his nature and his practices that I began to understand better after the studies.
Right. Now I was reading somewhere that, at a class when you were a student, by mistake you said India attained independence. Instead of 47, you said 1948. And the teacher started crying. Oh, what kind of a person we have, doesn't the Mahatma's grandson. I mean, is it, this is the mood of the people. That is what you have understood perhaps a little later.
Well, that taught me the fact that others can make mistakes and get away with it. No. I can't. I can't make mistakes.
Yeah, true. But is it possible? Because as a person, you cannot all the time before doing anything think about the Gandhian values and Gandhian ideology and then set out to do something. That is quite a challenging, and it's not physically not possible. So how do you manage that?
Well. Initially, I used to be very keen to be fast with my answers.
Okay.
Now it has taught me that in my case, I cannot do the rapid fire round. I have to take a pause before I answer, because many a times people are waiting to pounce on my mistakes. They get very disappointed when I answer everything correctly. They want to nail me down for my answers. And it's not right, because it doesn't only reflect on me, but it also reflects on the whole ideology and cause of Bapu. And so I have to be doubly sure about myself.
Now, one thing that catches the attention of people is that there are only two political figures or great personalities in the country who are protected under the National Emblems Act, apart from the national flag, the Constitution, and so on, Mahatma Gandhi and Shivaji.
Yes.
Now, in this kind of a scenario, do you think, as the great-grandson and a social activist and a very active social activist at that, it all the time you are on the lookout, or all the time people bring in issues to you? Oh, so and so, the Gandhi has been, insulted and this and that. So, and you are also running the Mahatma Gandhi Foundation. How often do you get complaints about that today? This, I'm asking you this question because just to get an understanding of how Bapu is treated today.
To tell you a recent thing, I've been under constant appeals from a resident in Dubai. I believe in Dubai there is a pub where they have a rather ridiculous portrait of Bapu painted on a wall behind the bar. Sometimes very insulting situations have occurred, and a Indian resident of Dubai has been after me to
do something,
put pressure on that. I have realized that this whole protection under the National Emblems Act and equating Bapu with the flag and the national emblem is a farce, because in independent India, nobody has been prosecuted under that act. The prosecution can only happen if the government takes action on that. I can't take action on the national emblem under the National Emblems Act. And nobody has been punished. So have you brought
this matter to the attention of the government of India or anybody?
Every time.
No, this Dubai issue.
The Dubai issue is very recent, so I haven't been able to,
You're planning to do that.
I will be doing that. The other fact is that people who do such things are doing it only because they want to become notorious. They just want that notoriety to get
publicity factor, absolutely. There's a very significant statement made by Mr. Tushar Gandhi that perhaps nobody has been prosecuted under the National Emblems Act for insulting or desecrating anything to do with these prominent figures, Mahatma Gandhi, and of course Shivaji. Of course, there was a case, but we'll not go into that. On this note, we'll go for a short break. Stay on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm still in conversation with Mr. Tushar Gandhi. Mr. Tushar Gandhi, you made a very significant statement that so far, perhaps no one has been prosecuted under the National Emblems Act.
Yeah.
So what does it mean actually?
I think like all things Bapu, it's just a farce. It's there.
But not many people will understand if you say that everything Bapu is a farce. This is something you have to explain.
Look at the celebrations for the 150th anniversary. Everybody is raving about the fact that Bapu's image was projected on Burj Khalifa, and that means that we have done so much about it. Really, it is the 150th anniversary should be a time of questioning ourselves as individuals and as citizens of the nation, whether at this point of time we deserve the legacy that we have inherited. Can we proudly say that we are the people of Gandhi? When we call him the father of the nation, my personal contact with him is diluted because now he becomes the head of a nation and everybody becomes a descendant in that. But at this point of time, we have to ask ourselves, do we deserve that? What have we done to be associated with that legacy? And that question should go around the nation, and we should search inwardly for on our own deeds. At the moment, it's merely ritualistic. You have Vaishnava Jan.
What must be going on? What must be going on in your mind? Do you think there should be a national campaign among the people? There should be some programs. What is it that is going? How would you? I mean, this is just a hypothetical question. Mm-hmm. How would you like this 150th year to be actually celebrated meaningfully?
I think there should be an awareness amongst the people of their own legacy and their own responsibility with that legacy. Each individual should stand up and claim a bit of the Gandhian legacy for themselves, and not just claim but deserve to claim that. We must see inwardly as to whether we are constructive citizens.
That is a very, very important point, Mr. Tushar Gandhi, you are making. 1.2 billion people, it's not only the responsibility of the government or the political class. Each one of Indians today needs to accept their responsibility,
Absolutely.
Come forward and pick up at least one or two of the Gandhian ideals if they really say that they are Indians.
Absolutely.
That's what you are saying.
Absolutely.
So if that happens, even if 20% of that, what you believe, you and I believe happens, I think there will be a big change in this country.
Every individual changed is an important step towards a farly reaching and long-lasting change in the society, because we must realize that today we don't have leadership which we can emulate. We don't have ideal choices. Unfortunately, our democracy has been reduced to a level where we can choose between only who is bad and who is worse. We don't have an ideal choice anywhere. That ideal choice can only come from within us.
We have a button called none of the above.
The none of the above button is also a reactionary button, because when you press none of the above, the only thing you negate is your own vote. It makes no difference to the electoral results. Unless it makes a difference to the electoral results. It's only that I am going, in the days of the ballot, I didn't fill my ballot, I didn't stamp my ballot, and that was a nota also. So this
that makes
nota
no
button
difference.
is no difference. It's just an escapism.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think we should also consider now it's high time we are a big democracy,
Yes.
we are a vibrant country, we are always, as Amartya Sen says in his argumentative Indian, we are all 24 hours engaged in arguments and counterpoints and counterpoints. Do you think it's high time that we should also consider the right to recall our elected representatives, because 5 years is a pretty long time
Yes.
in the life of an individual or a nation?
Nota will only become effectual and meaningful if it is if the right to recall is given to us along with the button nota. Then then this democracy, and I think after 70 years, the argument that we are not a mature democracy doesn't stand water.
Yes.
If we are not going to mature in 70 years, then when? 700 years? And do we wait till then for the absolutely negating of our democratic values? You said vibrant India. It's vibrant Indians. Unfortunately, our democracy is not vibrant. Our people are vibrant, that I admit, but the democracy is not vibrant. The democracy actually is cancerous, terminally cancerous.
Now, now coming back to the Mahatma. Now, Mahatma Gandhi in the syllabus, it's hardly there. Just maybe a small chapter somewhere here and there in the school level, not in the university and college level, but where is? In some of our neighboring countries, Mahatma Gandhi is taught in the colleges and universities.
Absolutely.
Isn't it shocking to you? I mean, why can't we have the Mahatma as a course compulsory? If people can make serving in the armed forces compulsory, why can't we at least read about the Mahatma till a certain level? Having a chapter on the Mahatma at the school level where we really don't know what we are reading is different. But at the college and university level, why can't Mahatma be a compulsory paper?
You see, it's the thing is that it should be the philosophy of the Mahatma that is taught, and not the individual history
True.
of the Mahatma.
That's what I'm saying.
Because again, that the story of the individual is an easy way out. You see, if you start teaching the philosophy and its application in society of current times, it becomes a very hard, difficult thing to do, and that's where we've chosen the escapist path again. I agree with you that in the other countries they are focusing more on the philosophy and its application, whereas in India we have an insignificant and often very unjustified way of teaching Bapu. I think that reflects our national character. That's what we've done to all our iconic people.
Right. Finally, Mr. Tushar Gandhi, do you get the sense of optimism somewhere that things might change for the better in the days ahead?
Being somebody who believes in the ideology of Bapu, one can never be a pessimist. One always feels and has hope for the future, not because I expect a miracle to happen, but I know that I am going to be responsible for bringing about that change, and if there is a failure, the failure is also mine.
Absolutely.
And so that helps me having hope for the future.
Absolutely. Let's hope for a better future. Let's hope that 1.2 billion Indians change their mind and contribute positively to the betterment of all of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Tushar Gandhi.
Thank you.